Welcome to the Business Reignitor series, episode 4. I get asked quite a lot from business owners for ideas of how to grow their business. In this series, I look at the different types of business that we're interested in partnering with to talk through what I do with each business to help it grow and dominate its local market. During my career, I've grown multiple businesses into multi-million pound, 7- and 8-figure revenue businesses across multiple industries, and this is the same process I use with those. So during the series, I'll pick a random company off the internet and I do a deep dive into what I do with that company if I owned it or if I was running it myself. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a graphic design business. So let's get into that. So in this video, we're looking at a company called Micah Purnell Design Studio based in Manchester in the UK. Now, I don't know this company. I don't know anyone in it. I've never come into contact with the business before, and they aren't paying me to promote the business. So I'm basing all of my growth suggestions on assumptions, all based on what I can see on the website and other places on the internet. Now, obviously, if I was actually inside this business, I'd probably choose a few different or additional strategies that from what I'm talking about in this video. None of what I talk about is meant to be derogatory in any way, and it's not intention to cause any kind of damage to the business. If you're a client of this business, please don't let my suggestions determine whether you decide to work with them or not. And if it's relevant, please do your own due diligence on the business. Likewise, nothing in this video is an endorsement of the business either. So if you're interested in working with this company, the web address is on the screen. You can reach them through that, and I'm sure they'll appreciate the extra web traffic there too. One thing I've noticed from coming into contact with hundreds of businesses over the years is that most share the same issues and reasons why they just seem a bit stagnant in their growth. Now, I'm not saying this business shares those issues or that they're stagnant in their growth. I've not seen their accounts, so I don't know whether that's true or not. But what I found, when a business is stagnant or is struggling to grow, it's because they just need what I call a bit of a reignition. Most of the time, it's not even a lot that needs doing with the business. It's normally just small tweaks or changes, and then it just takes off. But with every business, we have to start with where the business is right now. I'm not talking about their physical location, although that does come into it. I'm talking about every part of the business. Without doing this step, it's like having a map and saying that you want to go to, let's say, Disneyland, Florida, but not knowing where you're at on that map. How can you sat nav give you the directions of how to get there if it doesn't know where you're starting from? Now, there's lots to go into with understanding where the business is, which for this business, we don't have access to a lot of information about it. So we can't really go into that stage properly. So we'll focus on what we know about them based on what it says on the website. So what do they do? Who do they do it for? How big is the business? What assets does it have? How many staff does it employ? Does it employ a management team, or is it reliant on the owners? But everything starts with the customer. You'll see what I mean by this as we move through it. When they know who the business is working for, the type of client and the sector, we need to understand what that client is buying during that journey to solving the problem. It's not just about what the client buys from them. It's about everything that they buy from every other company. So we can see this business has listed a number of projects and clients. The Guardian, Wembley, there's some government clients too, but generally they all seem to be large corporate or government clients and projects. And I suspect some of those are working through larger design or advertising agencies as well. So we want to imagine, how can we maximize what this group of clients spends with the business? So with this business, the products and services it provides are graphic design in general, but it includes books and brochures, advertising campaigns, and signage. Now, if I were growing this business, I'd add a few more offerings to the clients. I'd offer websites, I'd offer signage manufacturing, including vehicle signage. I'd offer PR services. I'd offer brand strategy. And finally, I'd offer audio services as well, because currently the business provides services from a visual perspective, but by adding a spoken perspective as well, they can advertise on TV, on radio, on podcasts, etc. I wouldn't do all of these at the same time. I'd bring each one in over time, probably taking 3 to 6 months on each one, launching it, testing it, then optimizing it with the end goal of operating it almost like a standalone business with its own group of staff. Now, obviously that doesn't happen overnight, it takes time. But I start with what I'd call test bed customers. And these are customers that are happy to be guinea pigs for those new offerings and maybe they get the offering at a big discount. But what you use these customers for is to refine that product offering and iron out any issues with delivery before you start to scale it to the rest of your customers. After I know the process is working, I then dedicate someone to sell this new offering to the company's existing customers. I'd run campaigns in the business to push that new offering out in bulk. And what this does is, by running a campaign, you know exactly how much capacity you have right now, and you want to try and sell that capacity as fast as possible. One thing I see over and over again, though, when a business creates a new product or service offering, they create something that their existing customers won't have a need for, or that they aren't already buying. And this means that the company then has to go out and find a new set of customers to sell it to. I think it's caused because perhaps they look at their competitors, what they're doing. Maybe the competitor provides a service that their business doesn't. And so they automatically just create that product offering, but they don't have anyone to sell it to. So they have to start targeting new customers, which costs money, it eats up your cash flow, it reduces your profit margins, and it ends up taking much longer before you reach that same end result. It's much more profitable and faster to see results if you focus on selling more to your existing customers. The next thing I'd do with this business is I'd reposition it from being a graphic design company to a brand communication company. And by doing this, it can also charge more for its work. I'd shift to offering customers the final solution. So rather than being paid to provide some designs, instead they learn what result the customer is aiming for, and then create a number of packages so the customer can then reach that result in the fastest, cheapest way possible. And finally, because of the type of customers that the business is already working for, it means if they add additional locations in the UK, it probably won't help them access new customers. But if they add locations in let's say, Dubai and New York, this would open up new sets of customers. It could do this through partnerships, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they'd have to set up brand new offices in these locations, because that would be expensive to do. I'd also look at adding partnerships to the business. So the first would be to look at partnerships with other companies that can provide those complementary services under that brand communication umbrella. The next partnership I look at is what I call client channel partnerships. This business seems to be already working for large advertising companies. So these are client channels. So I'd look to create partnerships with all of these types of company and supply to their customers. It could even be created so that you might be adding the brand communication offering onto their business. And finally, I'd look at adding the locations by creating partnerships with clients or these channel partners, or perhaps complementary service businesses, and using their office base. Obviously, doing each of these activities or strategies will need a level of investment to bring it to life. Now, that might be just a time investment, but others might need significant financial investment. And from that investment, you'd expect to see a return on each of those activities. So we want to prioritize each of these strategies or activities according to a few criteria. How much investment is needed? What are the expected returns? How fast will we see those returns? And how much cash flow or further investment will each need in the future, or to operate it within the business? The next question is, how much should the business invest into these growth projects? And obviously, we don't know the numbers inside this business, so it really depends on the business numbers and what their growth projections are. But as a rule of thumb, I'd look to invest around 15 to 20% of the projected revenue for next year. So let's say the business has £2 million revenue now and wants to reach £2.5 million revenue next year. Then the investment budget would be between 375,000 and 500,000, and that would be about right together. So we've created a number of strategies to focus on growing this business. Now, the problem that I see with most businesses that try to do these strategies is they'll go off and start trying to do it all themselves. The problem with doing that is it becomes a distraction to your existing core business. In the various businesses I've been involved with myself doing this, it was me and maybe a small group of people that focused on doing this growth plan, while the rest of the business continued to be run by people that were dedicated to that part. You have to think about these growth projects or activities like you're creating a special task force, and that special task force is going to create that new thing or whatever that thing is. To give you an example, if you think about Apple, now Apple have shops and they have people looking after the manufacturing of those products, but they also have a completely separate group of people that focus solely on designing and creating those new products. That team of people don't do anything else. They don't get involved in fixing people's faulty phones. They don't build iPads. They don't work in the shops selling things. They work on designing and creating new products. Some of those products won't even be available to buy for the next 5 years. So that's how every business should think about it. Apple might be a big business now, but it was the same when they first got started. They always had one group of people that would be building the computers, but then they'd have a small group of people that was creating the next product. And this is what we do. We're like that special task force in a business. So the final question is, how does this business go about doing these strategies? Now, we use a lot of different frameworks and tools that we've created over the last 30 years of doing this in our own businesses. A lot of these frameworks and tools are available through our website or through courses, books, and videos that I've created. But the intention of doing these videos is to attract suitable partners to us, where if you're aligned with what we're doing and where we want to go ourselves, then we'll work with you and we'll do this process with you as a joint venture. So if that sounds interesting, the place to go is our website. I'll leave a link in the description and you can reach us there. If you haven't seen my latest books, I'd highly recommend you read those. The Momentum Framework and my most recent book, Sustainable Community, where I go much deeper into using these different strategies. I'll leave a link in the description for those as well. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you got some value from the video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.